Hey guys, welcome back to more Karen stories. In this video, a Karen trespassed on my property to steal my dumpster. She then ended up calling the police on me. Let's dive right into the video. So this was back a few years ago when I first moved houses. The place I chose had a large yard, which was very new to me since I'd only ever had postage stamp-sized backyards even when I was growing up. It made the possibilities for creating a garden, having a hangout spot for my friends and family, or putting in a pool if I wanted one. It was nice to have choices like that to look forward to. It was during my first week that I'd been warned about one of the women in the neighborhood. The way she was described, she was the very definition of a Karen. I was told to watch if I had my trash cans out too early or had any decorations on my front lawn, since she seemed to make it her job to be the neighborhood patrol. Anything that was remotely rubbing against a bylaw for the county was met with her knocking on someone's door to make sure they understood the law. I tend to keep to myself, so it was nice to have my neighbor across the street make sure I knew what to expect. At the time, I figured that if she did try to come after me for something, it was because I was new to the area. For a few weeks, I admit I forgot about the warnings. I was still settling in, learning about the area, working and seeing if there was anything in the home that the realtor left out that needed fixing. There were a few renovations that I had planned from the start, so I decided to work through those first. In preparation for that, I purchased a very large heavy-duty dumpster. I stuck my address on it on the off chance that I needed to transport it somewhere else. I had it settled right next to my driveway and garage. One of the most important things I made sure to handle as soon as I moved in was the security system. It is one of those motion detection ones that give you an alert if there's someone outside your home when you're not there. Honestly, I didn't expect to have any issues, but I'd had package thieves in my old neighborhood and did not want to have the same problem again. Then one day, I was coming home from work when I got a notification on my phone that there was someone at my door. I was pulling up the driveway by that point and could see an older woman facing my door, all but pounding on the doorbell. I remembered my neighbor's warning and wondered if this was Karen. I approached her and she turned, a frown on her face. Karen, oh, so you really were home and not just trying to ignore me? I mean, I just got back from work, is there something I can help you with? Karen pointing to my porch, I know you're new here, but there's rules that this neighborhood has about the kinds of things you can have outside. Me, looking at where she's pointing, that's my mailbox. Is there something wrong with it? Karen, for one thing, it's not the right size. And secondly, it doesn't have your address on it. Me, I have my address on my door and on a little sign at the end of my driveway. I think the mailman will know what house to deliver to. She continued to scold me that my choice in the mailbox was not correct and that I would need to fix it. I just nodded and tried to get into my house. I thought at one point she would try to keep me outside, but I must have said something that she thought meant the conversation was done, and she headed down my driveway. I hoped it would be the last time I saw her, and then came that Saturday. For my job, there's an on-call schedule that goes in a rotation every weekend. That weekend was my weekend, so I kept my phone on me, ready to spring into action if someone needed me to come into the office. I instead woke up around 4 in the morning to an alert on my phone from one of the security cameras that there was movement detected by my driveway. I was able to pull up the video feed to my phone and watched in confusion as a pickup truck was backing into my driveway. Then Karen got out of the truck with chains and started to attach those chains to my dumpster. My mouth dropped as she got back in her car and proceeded to tow my dumpster away. I could literally hear the sounds of the chains from my room, and I got up from my bed to watch her drive down the street. I grabbed my shoes and got in my car, hoping that I could catch her before she got too far. I did not even know where she lived in the neighborhood, so I just followed where she went down the street. I didn't have too far to drive when I saw her attempting to pull into what I guess was her own driveway. I revved up and blocked her path, slamming my hand on the horn. She got out of her truck, absolutely fuming. Karen, you cannot block me from my own driveway. How dare you? Me, what the hell is wrong with you? Why did you take my dumpster? Karen, I don't know what you're talking about. This is my dumpster. Me, no, it is mine. You clearly stole it from my driveway and it's literally got my address on it. Karen, I picked this up from the side of the road. This is not yours at all. Me, don't play dumb. Why did you take it? Give it back. Karen, you blocked my driveway and now you accuse me of stealing, huh? I think you deserve a night in jail. Me, watching her pull out her phone. Are you serious? Really? Karen, yes, I need an officer or two to come down to my address. This young man is blocking my driveway and is trying to steal my dumpster. He's been harassing me for nearly an hour and I don't know what else to do to make him go away. I felt like I was being pranked here. This woman was talking so seriously into the phone, giving me nasty looks whenever she made eye contact with me, and kept telling the police that I was the one who had been harassing her. She hung up with a smirk and told me that if I tried to run, she knew where I lived. I didn't move my car and just waited, pulling up the footage from my phone to show the officers that the dumpster was mine, and she literally stole it from my driveway. The video feed had a timestamp, so if I needed to prove that she took my dumpster first, then I had it. The officers arrived looking tired. I'm sure they hadn't expected a call like Karen's to come in so early in the morning. She immediately pointed to me, talking about how I had blocked her path, was not letting her into her own home, and made threats on her life. She was not even talking about the dumpster anymore, and one of the officers had to tell her to calm down so she could explain her story. The other officer came to me and asked why I was not letting her into her driveway. I explained that the dumpster attached to her truck was mine and I was just trying to get it back. I showed the officer my license, which had my new address on it, to match it against the address on the dumpster. I also showed him the footage from when she stole the dumpster. The officer talked with his partner and told Karen that she needed to return my property to me. Karen flipped out again, making wild accusations about me attacking her and keeping her from her home. The officers reiterated that she needed to return my dumpster or else they would have to take her in for not complying with an officer. That seemed to make Karen even more angry, and I watched as one officer had to hold her back from lunging at me. The other officer told me to take my dumpster back and ask for my phone number to call if they needed anything else from me. I grabbed my own chains from my trunk and got my dumpster back to my house without issue. I could not get back to sleep, still thinking about Karen's behavior. A few hours later, I got a call from one of the officers. They wanted to make sure that I made it back home without issue and to check if there was any damage Karen had caused to my property. I told them no, since the dumpster was pretty sturdy, and then the officer dropped a bombshell. Apparently, after I left, Karen had an actual nervous breakdown. The officers had to handcuff her for their own safety, and she was admitted into the local mental hospital for observation. It seems like Karen had a record, and this was not the first time that she had claimed someone was attempting to harm her or steal something that she claimed was hers. The local police station had a few run-ins with her over the years, and a few of those times did end with her needing medical attention for a breakdown. The times that she would call up the station were times when she was off her medication, so the officers were glad that they were able to get her to where she needed to be before she got into too much trouble. I could tell the officer wanted to see if I was gonna press charges, but after I heard about that, I figured it wouldn't do much good. I felt sorry for her, but it was her own fault for stealing my property and trying to frame me for things I never did. She had done this to herself, and she was gonna have to face that once she got the help she needed. I never had an issue with Karen again, and I saw her when she returned from her time in the hospital when I was heading to work, but she never stopped by my house to apologize or to try and get me to change my mailbox again. I do see her from time to time, but I don't engage again. Ever since then, I have not heard anything from my neighbors about her behavior either, so there is that. But yeah, apparently I caused a woman to go to a mental hospital. And yeah guys, if you enjoy my videos, please don't forget to subscribe, because that would be very much appreciated. The next one is a really interesting Am I the A-hole story. It is titled, Am I the jerk for snapping at my boyfriend for bringing a man into the bedroom while I am trying to sleep? So for quick context, my boyfriend brought us a new bed frame and mattress, but the frame came with a crack in one of the pieces. When he told Amazon, they just sent him another one. One day at work, an employee mentioned that he was needing a new bed, so my boyfriend said he could have the one Amazon sent him if he did not mind the broken piece. Well, he didn't, and he came to get it today. I know this person, and I also don't like him for various reasons. My boyfriend told me the night before he was coming to get it. I said, cool, I'm not coming out of the bedroom unless I have to. He came and I vaguely heard them talking, but I was half asleep and didn't care. Then I heard my boyfriend say something about showing him our bed, and I heard him say that I was in there, but it was fine. I kind of froze, half asleep and confused, until I hear them coming, and I pulled the blankets over my head as my boyfriend announced coming in. I said very loudly, why? and they just came in. It was hot and stuffy under the covers. Thank God I wore baggy clothes and not my usual sleepwear, so I pulled the blankets down and the guy was just standing there in the doorway and awkwardly said good morning. To which I replied very angrily, good morning back, and probably looked like I wanted to kill everyone there. So my boyfriend showed off the bed and started to leave, to which I snapped at him for not shutting the door behind him on his way out. I don't like leaving the door completely open because it's so awkward when his kid goes to the bathroom across the hall and we see each other when I'm trying to sleep. I just want it cracked enough that my cat can get in, and he knows this. Eventually, the employee leaves and my boyfriend comes in, and I immediately set up and tell him that I did not like that at all. He tries something in a sing-song voice that may have been a half-assed apology, but I cut him off saying, I really didn't effing like that at all, and he turned around and left without a word. I shut the door completely and laid down, just sort of locked up in place. My whole body kinda sort of felt heavy and my chest hurt, but I couldn't cry, but that was just so humiliating to not only have a man that doesn't belong in my bedroom there, but also him seeing me in my safe space. An absolute mess from sleeping was just horrible. Later, when I got up for work, my boyfriend left as soon as he knew I was moving, got his pants and left without a word. On my way out, I very angrily texted him that since he decided to Irish goodbye me after hurting me that bad, I would take the couch tonight. He did not reply, and he was asleep when I got home, so on the couch I am now. I wanna know if I'm the a-hole for how I reacted, because I have a feeling that that's how he's gonna twist it when he does, or if he does, say anything at all. And yeah guys, let me know what you think about this one in the comments, but I would say there's no way in hell that OP is the a-hole here. That boyfriend absolutely crossed boundaries and that was totally not okay. OP then said, this really helped me calm down. My anxiety and anger was through the roof, so it distracted me and cleared my head. I would like to clarify here, because I noticed a lot of people misreading it, but the employee was never buying anything, especially not our actual bed that I was sleeping on. He was picking up a free spare bed frame because Amazon is kinda weird in how they fix things apparently. I really have no idea why or how they ended up in the bedroom. I will eventually find out, and that'll be in the update, which I'll update the post with an update when I have one. By the way, thank you to every woman that defended me and lifted me up. Your aggression was honestly sweet as hell. I genuinely appreciate your kindness. I will apologize for snapping only if he actually shows remorse to what he did and understands how wrong it was. If he makes excuses, I'm not gonna meet in the middle. I know a lot of you were mad about sleeping on the couch. I did no sleeping at all, of course, but when we've clashed before, he almost always takes the couch, so I don't see it as unreasonable, but I get where you're coming from. That is the goal, and yes, I am re-evaluating my relationship with him before I hear him out. Also, I'm not gonna act rashly. It's really impossible to explain a 3-year relationship in one post, so I know everyone wants to hear every detail, but not every detail is meant for strangers. No offense, I love all the advice and support you have given me. Either way, I'm considering leaving him, and I do have a plan if it comes to that. I always have, in all honesty. But I really need to close my eyes right now, especially that my chest doesn't hurt. Update to the story, I broke up with him when he finally admitted he brought him in there to see the bed. He basically said that all my reasoning for not being okay with it is stupid, that I was dressed and under a cover, and it was fine. He said basically everything that everyone said in the comments and refused to see any wrong in his actions, besides one brief admittance that he could see how I was uncomfortable, but in the same breath said he could not imagine how I would feel violated and thus would not validate my feelings. So yes, I broke up with him, despite probably should have waited until I was not at the end of the month and could more comfortably find a place to live. I'm fine though, he just went off into the other room and laid down on the couch. I'm not concerned for my safety yet, but if I become, so I'll be to stay with a friend. I can afford to move once I find a place, it just takes time. And no, I won't take the couch. It was a long conversation of me desperately trying to get him to understand that all this took was just admitting he was wrong and just apologizing. I couldn't get that much. Looks like I didn't know him after all. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. Maybe a covenant issue, not simply an HOA one, you decide. This one shaped my youth. My family was military, so we moved around every 4 years growing up and lived primarily on base housing. That is, until we moved from Georgia to Michigan. Lots of differences in the two states, a lot less southern hospitality for sure. My parents moved into a nice subdivision that was an offshoot of a nicer subdivision. There were no signs for our less nice subdivision, but with the lot size and general attitude of neighbors towards each other and their own lawns, you could tell the difference. Well, just after I graduated high school, my parents decided to move around the corner to the nicer subdivision and a much nicer house and bigger lot. This is where the trouble began. This subdivision had a lake, so you were either a lake person or not. Again, smooth divisions that were palpable in the neighborhood. The board for the subdivision had a clear agenda, which meant creating a park-like atmosphere, and had recently begun implementing decisions based on aesthetics and some newish bylaws they had enacted. The problem was, these bylaws affected my parents' plan to put in a fence and pool in their backyard. The bigger problem was, they enacted the bylaws incorrectly and never recorded them. Their true problem was that after finishing the military, my mom had gone on to become a teacher and then later get her law degree. So when they posted a cease and desist notice for our backyard renovations, my mom called BS. My dad's response was, "I would like to see them try it," when they declared they would tear down our fence. Mind you, this is where things got to, but my family tried appeasement for a while before implementing the GFY approach. This board was simply being implacable. In Michigan, you have to have a fence if you want a pool. It's just a safety and liability thing. The people with the lake houses did not need fences and thought they were offensive to see and against their park aesthetic. So my parents offered to put a really nice fence up, not some crappy chain link thing, but still, no. Other people had similar issues with the board, offering many solutions only to be denied. It was clear this power-tripping board just did not want fences and thought they had the power to decide. It got so bad that another homeowner lost a sale of their house because a new buyer with small children could not get approval for any kind of fence in their wooded lot. After hearing others' horror stories and seeing the pushback from the board, my parents decided on the nuclear approach and implemented it. Construction on an expensive white vinyl fence began, finished, and the pool equipment was on the way when we received the stop order notice. Then I got to witness something that still brings a tear to my eye. You see, these a-holes had been puffing themselves up for months over this. They even went and hired an attorney to put a stop to us. This attorney invited everyone to a sit-down, not in someone's living room, no, they rented a boardroom out at a local eatery. My dad said he did not want anything to do with this, knowing he had a temper problem and his 12 gauge he casually refers to as his southern hospitality would not be welcome, and then asked that I go with mom to provide backup. Not realizing what I was about to witness, I blithely agreed and showed up in my polo and cargo pants. Everyone else is in suits and ties and the full board of old pissed off dudes is sitting there waiting for us when we arrive. My mom sits down, they start talking about costs and resolving and how they had to hire a lawyer and she will have to pay for that because she created this problem, and then she just cuts them off. "What makes you think you have any legal right to impose this rule?" she says. They all turn to their attorney. Miss ma'am, we had a vote." Then my mom does it. She takes out the recorded bylaws and flops them on the table and says, "Really? Because it's not in here." Awkward moment of silence, papers rifle through, stammering. My mom, seeing the opportunity, continues. "See, what I think happened is, you had a vote, but it was wrong. These bylaws require a majority of the lots to vote in favor for a change to be made. So you had a majority of the votes cast, not a majority of the total lots. So what you really had was a plurality, and that vote never passed. You can see the rules for voting here," points out Paige, "and you can see that the rule was never changed in the official bylaws either. Probably because it never passed. And now none of you have bothered to even read or follow the bylaws and you're trying to impose them on me. Well, I can tell you that's not gonna happen. Thank you, gentlemen. I will not be paying a dime for any of this or your attorney. Have a good day." Then she gets up, looks at me like, "Get the F up, son," and marches out. They actually had the gal to try to hand her an invoice for the lawyer as she walked out and she just waved it off. And that was the day I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Serving fools like that, my mom showed me what it was to stand up to those who had let power go to their head. And yeah guys, obviously this HOA learned a little bit too late that obviously you should never mess with a military family. And before we end the video, we will read a funny story from r/petty revenge. It is titled "Little Prank Against My Sister Turned to Accidental Revenge." So for a little bit of background, my younger sister is in college and borrows my computer from time to time for certain projects and whatnot, which is not a problem as long as she asks first, which she does. But the problem is she never signs out of her Google account after she is done. I told her to do it multiple times, but she just never listens. Now for the story, I get on my computer like I normally do, but realized that my sister is signed into Google and it's not my account. I was just gonna sign her out again, but then I decided to pull a little prank. I changed her username to "change your password" and her profile picture to the dumb Winnie the Pooh meme, and then I signed off not thinking much of it. Then a day later she comes to my room and asks me, "Did you hack my Google account?" I denied it while smirking and explained that she left her account signed in again, and I just went in, changed a couple things. She then explained how she was going to give a presentation to some board members or something at her school, and they all saw her account, and one of them asked, "Did someone hack your account?" And apparently she was very much embarrassed. I busted out laughing and told her that is what she deserved. I genuinely didn't expect this to be this much of a revenge. Just a little prank, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Please pick safe passwords and always log out on public PCs, and I will see you again tomorrow.